Hi there, my name is Peter Terrace, and we're going to be talking today with Eddie Cornell, my good friend. He's a ex-combat veteran for the Canadian military.
Not combat.
Combat. Afghanistan?
No, I've been in harm's way, but not combat. No.
Not combat. So veteran.
Let's be straight.
Let's be straight. Let's not get this wrong right off the bat. He's a veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces. And we're here to talk today mostly about the Army, because there was one thing last time we were speaking. Eddie mentioned something very interesting about the Freedom Convoy. Now, Eddie, we had a lot of police at the Freedom Convoy. Was the Army there?
No.
The Army wasn't there.
No, thank God.
And you know, I reckon after you said that, I started thinking about it. I'm like, that's right. They were not there. How do you, why do you think they didn't show up, or why were they not there?
Well, I don't know if you saw the text that Mendocino had. How many tanks do we need? And they said, oh, just one. The communication between some of the ministers. Well, they wanted the Army to come. And they said, yeah, we want no part of it. They didn't come at all. So, and we have that direct.
So Mendocino gave an order to the Army.
No, he was asking them.
He was asking them.
Yeah, he asked, what was his name now? Lamente.
Yeah, the public safety minister.
Correct. For
who had to, in disgrace, he left.
Yes,
he left as a cabinet minister. Thank God. But they're all this really.
And they were joking in their texts. You know, how many tanks do you think I need? Just one should do.
Yeah.
And the military said, we are not coming. And we got that direct from a high-ranking official in the military. Can't name them, but
yeah. And that, when you said that to me, that was shocking. I was surprised by that, but also pleasantly surprised that our Army still has men willing to stand on principle and protect the rights of Canadian citizens. You know, I got a little clip here from the Freedom Convoy that shows how they were willing, how the police were willing to abuse the rights of citizens. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh, I was right there.
Trampling horses, trampling, stop it. They just trampled this lady. They just trampled that lady. They just fully trampled that lady. They just fully trampled that lady. Here's the lady. Here's the lady that was trampled. Yeah, the lady got fully trampled with a horse.
These are the police officers that took an oath to the charter to serve and protect. The police are to be an extension of the citizenry. They're supposed to protect the citizens. They're supposed to protect the rights of the citizens. This was disgusting. This was scandalous. Where were you in this? Where were
just way over to the right? If you happen to see the video where Chris Deering, he was a veteran, and as things were getting going, he said to the police, because a lot of military guys were in the middle as a buffer between the protesters and the police to try to, you know, diffuse the situation.
Yeah.
So he said to the police, I'm a severely wounded veteran. All I ask, if you're going to arrest me, don't hurt me. I'll go willingly. I'll offer no resistance. The first thing they did was grab him, pulled him out by the chest, pulled him behind the line, and three big goons started kicking the crap out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they can sleep with themselves, sleep at night.
Well, you saw their texts, I think, from the hotel. They wanted us to feel their jackboots and save some for us so we can do it next week. And it just went on and on. You know,
Which text are you talking about?
Oh, the RCMP's Telegram channel. We broke into that, and we were able to get their internal communications, and they were loving the fact that they got to beat up protesters.
This is what COVID created. It created all these petty tyrants, not only in the police, but going to church. You had people telling you at the front door, you know, the 89-year-old grandma who finally can, you know, lay down the law that you have to wear the mask before you. But this was the kind of petty tyrants that was no longer petty anymore, because in this video that we just saw, they trampled a disabled Métis woman.
They did.
And then they tried to say
That she threw a
that
bike.
she threw a bike at them.
Yeah.
It was laughable. It was disgusting.
It's terrible.
And they were trying to set up the protesters, and CBC was continually trying to set it up and trying to set up different angles to make it look as if that she really threw a bike at. Because the first reports you see on CBC, someone throws a bike at the police, and then when the truth finally comes out, thank God there were these videos.
Steve Bell, the acting chief of police, actually came out in a news conference and said that too.
Oh, that guy was a complete scumbag.
Oh,
he was an utter scumbag, that guy. He was so low that he was willing to say that. And even when the truth came out, he didn't retract his statement. He didn't apologize.
Suffered no consequences.
No consequences at all. Now, Eddie, I want to contrast. Now, I don't know if you remember what happened on December 25th, 1989 in Romania. Nicolae Ceausescu, he was executed for using police and army in order to crush a peaceful protest. Our government tried to use the army. Thankfully, we had people of principle at the top at that time who were said, no, we're not going to play along. We're not going to do this. But he was executed for doing the exact same thing that Trudeau did during the Freedom Convoy in February of 2022. And there's no accountability. None. He was executed, which I think was extreme. I think life imprisonment would be fair, or maybe 25 years for Trudeau would be fair. But to have nothing, no accountability, this is a slap in the face to all the people who suffered. That woman, your friend who was the veteran who was beaten, and he told them he was up front with them, and they were still beaten, and no one's faced any.
Well, if you go back to
charges,
the media, CBC, CTV, all of the corporate legacy mainstream media, they fabricated all the stories. So think about it: half the population wanted us dead.
Yeah.
And they never got the real story ever to this day. So they believed the government acted correctly. And all the police officers that were there, and then some of the other people who I don't know who they were, just think, before they arrived, they were pumped up and given briefings that these guys have guns, these guys are terrorists, and getting them all ready to get in there and bust heads.
Yeah.
So they were being primed before they even got there. So not a surprise that they acted that way, because they had trained for it before even arriving in Ottawa. So,
yeah. I'm sorry. That's my next clip. We're not going to listen to that just yet.
Okay.
But it was part of the conditioning. It was brainwashing. And, I'm not going to blame them. I actually want to understand those police officers. I want to understand what's going on in the minds of the people who are still believing that it was an insurrection, that we wanted violence. Really, that whole Freedom Convoy was about dropping the vaccine mandates.
Yeah.
That was the only request. That was a very clear request. I mean, there was other sort of tangential requests that were being made as well, but that was the primary one. And they didn't even want to listen to it. In fact, they only fabricated propaganda in order to do what
they had a plan before anyone arrived.
Yeah.
They were going to use the Emergency Act. It was all in place, and they wanted to create that January 6th, just like what they tried to do in the States. And people were peaceful, and they were like, uh-oh, now what do we do?
Yep.
But think about it from the government's point of view. People came from across the country, everywhere. It could have been really bad. Let's say people did arm themselves and come to Ottawa. They got caught with their pants down, and they panicked. They went to the nuclear option, and that's what they did.
Yeah. And
everyone was peaceful, and it totally destroyed their narrative, and it showed them the tyrants that they are.
Well, you see, the one aspect of the narrative, one story, a particular story I remember, is when the RCMP flew the Nazi flag from the Chateau Laurier. They were the only ones staying in the Chateau Laurier. I was in
behind
Ottawa,
a fence that no one could get
I was
to.
in Ottawa. No one could get into that area unless you were staying in the Chateau Laurier, which was fully booked by the RCMP. And so they tried to fabricate this story.
And it was Trudeau's photographer
that took that picture
Yeah.
and the CBC, they all ran with it. And so you see the people who are watching the CBC, they're only hearing that part of the story. They're saying that there's Nazis at the Freedom Convoy because they see this image of they're not realizing that it's actually on the Chateau Laurier grounds where the RCMP are staying. They're the ones flying
really well.
Yeah. It was, and so I get it. I understand why they're doing it. But now it's time. Let's get the truth to those people. Let's figure out how they got brainwashed, and just show them the truth and be loving. Actually, I think we're not going to, because this is a battle for hearts and minds, really. I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to win by beating them over the head, saying they're stupid, saying they're wrong. Just actually trying to understand them and saying, yeah, I get it. I could have been in that position too if I was watching the same things. Because, if you're in an old age home, that's all you're watching. If I was in an old age home, that's all I'd be watching. And so I would very likely believe the very same things that our fellow Canadians who were against us during the Freedom Convoy also believed, right?
They really shaped the narrative.
Yeah. Really
you can see why Canadians would believe that, because the way that they, portrayed it with the video clips that they did.
Yeah.
And, I had one guy, I was working at the Arc Hotel doing my thing. And anyway, this guy sort of came into our space, and I asked him, who are you? He had a mask on, had a camera crew. He said, I'm with the CBC. I said, get out. This isn't the time or place for media. Anyway, so escorted him out of the hotel. About 2 hours later, I'm walking down the street and I hear, hey, Eddie. I turn around, there's some guy chasing up to me. I said, who are you? He goes, oh, I'm the producer from that show. You escorted me out earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I said, I didn't recognize you. You didn't have your mask on. He said, well, I only wear that when I'm on TV. So they
don't even believe
now
their own
I
lies.
don't really want to talk to you. Get away.
They don't even believe their own lies.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So, the Canadian military didn't show up. You were a military man.
Yeah.
Right? Who do you want? What are the kind of people that you want in charge of the military?
We need a warrior culture, not a DEI culture like what we've got right now.
Yeah.
They purged all the real soldiers.
What's the job of a military? What's the primary job?
To kill.
Kill people.
Plain and simple.
To kill your enemies.
That's right.
Okay. I got this clip here of this is the top general now in Canada, Jenny Kerrigan.
Right.
And I'm sorry that you may have to watch this. This should come with a disclaimer and a warning, because
It's
I
not
guarantee
it's not AI.
It's not AI, and I guarantee you will become dumber after watching it. But I think it's necessary just to see how our military has descended. So I just want to play this to you here.
Milestone in the history of the Canadian Armed Forces, and it is also a very difficult day. A day of which we are confronting a painful truth. That our institution caused harm to countless people it was meant to support and respect.
Is she talking about the unvaccinated, do you think, Eddie?
No.
Wouldn't that be nice if if she was talking about the unvaccinated, that the unvaccinated were discriminated during that time? But we'll get to the end, and we'll suffer through this, Eddie. This is for research purposes and for gaining knowledge. Okay, let's get through this.
Our great institution stands on a foundation of fundamental values, values that should be in turn manifest in the daily words and deeds of every one of our members.
How's that for a word salad?
Yeah.
It's fundamental manifest for every one of our members. A whole bunch of nothing.
Well, then you go to the crying.
Oh, that's the best part. Oh, yeah, that's the best part. Okay, we're getting to the climax here.
Yeah.
Eddie, you've seen this one before.
Yeah.
Okay, you spoiler alert.
Systemic racism, racial discrimination, and harassment are an affront to these values, and yet we allowed these injustices to occur and fester within our ranks. And as individuals, whether this stemmed from ignorance, indifference, complacency, or complicity, is not an excuse. It was a clear betrayal of everything we stand for. Therefore, on behalf of the Canadian Armed Forces, I offer my most sincere and deepest apologies. I apologize to every CAF member, veteran who experienced racism, discrimination, and harassment. And I acknowledged we failed you.
You know, what about medical discrimination? Not one word about that.
But who do you think? I wonder who her drama teacher was.
Oh,
She's like, racial discrimination. She's not worried about the people who are getting killed in the line of duty, but the people who suffered. Oh, she can't breathe. She's having
and now,
racial discrimination.
Wait, that's right. And now she's being considered for the top post at NATO.
Look at that performance. How could you, like, do you feel more confident if that was your leader, if you were still a military man,
No.
you were a trained killer, would you feel more confident with her heading up your...
Definitely not.
No, I don't think many people feel comfortable.
They started struggle sessions in 2017. So everything is based now on your DEI score and, you know, that inclusivity. And they've purged the warrior culture right out of the military. Gone.
Yeah, and I think it's not going to serve us well. Now, I'm sure they have all the best intentions, that they want to make things better. But how? Like, with that kind of attitude, if her job is to lead a military that is to be feared, I don't fear that. That's pathetic.
No,
I don't fear that. I'm actually embarrassed to think that she's leading our military. That's embarrassing.
So you know what they've done? They want to bring the forces from 70,000 to 85,000.
Yeah.
So they're having difficulty recruiting. So what are they doing? Importing a mercenary army. So if you've been in the country less than 3 months, you're not a Canadian citizen, you can join the military.
Is that right?
Go back to the trucker convoy. Look at all the legislation that's been passed or is being introduced. It's a direct result of what happened at the convoy. Everything. Mm-hmm. Everything that has come down the line for the past 5 years has been a result of that. And that's why they want to bring a warrior culture from warring countries, you know, people that have no loyalty to our country, that will do what they are told because they're getting a great paycheck. And don't you think that they'd come kick your door in if they were told to? And if you go back 2 years ago, Bill Blair, who was the Minister of Defense, changed the policy of the military after the trucker convoy, that the military can now be deployed at any time they feel it necessary to augment police or any public emergency without declaring an emergency.
So what happened during the Freedom Convoy might not happen again. There may not be a courageous man or woman in charge to say, no, we're not going to participate something that violates the human dignity and the rights of Canadian citizens. That's not our job. Our job is to protect Canadians from external threats and also internal threats, not to violate the rights of those citizens.
As far as I know, those people that were in command positions have been purged.
All the good ones.
They're gone.
Yeah, well, all the good ones. Anyone who didn't get vaxxed was removed. Anyone who wouldn't play along with the DEI, anyone who didn't want to use the tampons in the men's bathroom is now gone. If you're not playing along with their BS, saying that a man can become a woman, then you're gone.
And think about this. You know, an internal report that leaked a few weeks ago, where they had officer candidates, not the regular soldiers, but training as officers. They had foreign nationals, less than 3 months in the country. They broke into tribal lines within their squads, and they were fighting with each other, gang raping female recruits, and they wouldn't take any orders if someone was younger than them. They had no respect for leadership. And when they were charged with an offense, they claimed racism.
Yeah.
So,
And this is when you don't have a country that knows what it stands for, this is what they resort to. And this is what our leadership is now resorting to. And now, if I didn't see that internal memo, and I'm not sure, I've never seen that. But if that's what they're trying to do, that is only going to make us look stronger on paper. So yes, we'll have higher numbers, but doesn't mean we're going to have better people there.
well,
it sounds like they're a lot
to
worse.
them it will be, because those people would turn on the population. There's no mistake in why they're coming after everybody's firearms. Peaceful people that have firearms, when they know 95% of the crime is by imported firearms that aren't legal. In fact, I think it was last week the RCMP tried to run cover for the government, saying 95% of crimes committed were guns obtained within Canada. False.
Well,
they got called out, and it's wrong.
Well, Eddie, maybe you don't know this, but criminals always obey the law.
They always register.
They always obey the law, and they always use registered firearms.
That's
Eddie.
true.
Obviously, the government knows. Right?
So think about it.
Yeah.
They have a mercenary army, disarm the population.
Yep.
Where in the world have you seen that happen? And it ends in genocide many times. I'm not saying it's going to happen here.
Ooh.
I hope it ever would, but it's sequential, and it's happened many times in the last century.
Absolutely.
And before that as well.
Every time you disarm your citizenry, it never is succeeded by more peace, more order. It's always succeeded by abuses by government.
And then you have a government that wants to kill you with MAID. And now what's the talk? I've heard that the government is talking about involuntary MAID now.
Well, it's the next thing, right? It's the corruption, and this slide. And I believe, after the Freedom Convoy, I know a lot of the people that we know, and a lot of the people in the Freedom Convoy I think they've been black-pilled, and I think because they've despaired, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've despaired. And I think a lot of that is, for me, from my perspective, I still have hope, because I don't have hope only in a political solution. My hope lies, number one, in my faith and in Jesus Christ. That's my number one hope, right? So the fact that we have a whole bunch of incompetent people who are not going to take care of me, don't care about me, that's still, I still have to fight for what is true and what is good, right? But do you find that too? Are you finding that there's a lot of blackpilling now, even in the Freedom Convoy, that people have given up on voting now, and
they have, and everybody's fighting with everybody. You notice in the freedom movement, there's a lot of infighting, and that's done on purpose, because what it'll do is water down that that mindset of people, and they feel hopeless, and they just give up.
They give up, yeah, I know,
and that's how they win, and everybody gets complacent. And the problem is that now, with the laws that are being passed, everyone as an individual could be afraid to poke their head up, because they will literally put you through the ringer.
Then you suddenly are being audited. You're suddenly having people knock on your door. You're suddenly having violations of whatever it might be.
Yep.
Property violations,
municipal
bylaws, lawfare. Exactly. We'll look at Randy Hillier. There's many examples. Tamara Leach. There's so many examples in recent history that they've done that too.
Right? And think about this. When we were at the convoy, the Special Forces aircraft flew over a couple of times. And what people don't realize, they said it was a training mission. Well, okay, maybe it was. But what they were able to do was gather every password, everything that was on everyone's phone that was at the convoy. So they have that information. They have your number, have your passwords, they have everything. And what do? They followed it back to where everybody lives. And so now they've got a file on you, and they've probably got an AI computer programming, just keeping an eye on all of those phones. And, if something pops up that they think a human should look at, boom, they bounce it out to CSIS or to the RCMP.
Or local police even.
Local police. Yeah. And they come knock on your door.
Yeah, we're seeing that happen.
They're tracking
more and more now. Yeah.
And they know who we all are.
Yeah, and I think once you divide people, and I think what really gets them afraid, and why they were really afraid by that, because they showed how unified people were during that Freedom Convoy.
Yeah.
Right? They are most afraid of that, and they were afraid because it wasn't just one type of person. I know my niece went, who's a medical doctor. She went to the Freedom Convoy with her husband, who's a medical doctor. It was people from all walks of life. It wasn't just the so-called far right. And that's
No, it
what made
wasn't.
them really afraid. There was liberals, there was conservatives, there was all types of people that were going there because they saw that we've gone too far. And that's when they got really
Yep.
afraid. And many, the ones who were really looking for the truth ended up going and seeing it. And then they had their eyes open.
I had 5 medical doctors from Montreal
Mhm.
come to me in the Arc Hotel, and they didn't want to be identified, but each one of the 5 donated $5,000 um, towards
Wow.
the convoy. And they knew what the repercussions would be if it was tracked. And that money went to people who needed it.
Yeah.
And, I was very thankful. And there was, you look at the institutions and the colleges of doctors and so on. It's basically been taken over by, Marxist DEI culture,
Yep.
and it's a cult. And a
Yep.
doctor that wants to do the right thing for his patients, now if he doesn't follow or drink the Kool-Aid that the college says, they're out in their butt. And
That's right.
we know many doctors that happen to.
And it's very difficult when you go through the med school. You usually have a large debt when you get out, and then you have a good job. You don't want to risk it, and I understand that. But there have been a lot of people and a lot of doctors who did risk it, and I really applaud those, like Dr. Mark Trotzy, William Mackis. There's many who really stood out.
Charles Hoff,
Yeah. Many, and
Dr. Hodgkinson.
Dr. Hodgson, he's still being
Yep.
pursued and
Yep.
persecuted by the government for speaking something opposed to what the College of Physicians and Surgeons was preaching, right?
It's true.
Yeah. So look at this headline here. This headline, Eddie, is from March 23rd, 2022, from our favorite liberal rag, the Toronto Star. This is the headline: Too white and too male. Canadian armed forces are rethinking recruiting as staffing slides, senior officers say. So staffing is sliding. So you saw that, right?
Yeah.
Staffing was sliding. Like people who have that warrior culture, they weren't joining, were they?
But think about it. World War I, World War II. Who went and fought? Predominantly white males. And what are they doing? Ostracizing all of the white males. But when times of harm come where you need an army because something happens, all of a sudden you see the recruiting ads. It's all the white male. We need you now, but then they abuse you in between, and it's got to stop. Racism is racism.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. It doesn't matter what your color is.
Imagine if we replace the word black with the word in this headline: too white and too black.
Yeah.
Or too black and too male.
Yeah.
Right. Or too Indian and too male. Then it's racist. But if it's for white, it's not.
Okay.
It's
okay. Acceptable.
It's not racist.
Well, and now we're settlers. We have to. They're actually talking in governments that we need to refer to ourselves as settlers. I have a question. I know that the feather Indians, not the Indians from overseas, but the feather Indians. Where did they come from? We all came here from somewhere. So, why does one group have more rights than the others?
So we should be doing our land acknowledgements to Adam and Eve.
You would think,
right?
I mean, we all want.
I acknowledge this land being the land of initially of Adam and Eve.
I don't think the human race was started in what we call Canada now. I don't think so. No. I think we all came here from somewhere.
Yep.
So,
yeah. So I think the direction that our armed forces are going, obviously, are
doomed for failure.
Yeah.
It's doomed for failure.
Where's that going to leave us? What do you think?
We're vulnerable. I mean, if China, for example, decided, you know what, we're going to take it, and China's already embedded so deeply into our country, we're going to take it. We would have no way to defend ourselves, and the only hope we'd have is that the U.S. would come to our rescue. And look what they're doing to the U.S. elbows up.
I know, elbows up, right.
Our relationship is fractured. Like the rhetoric they have against the United States, booing the national anthem. That's disgusting.
I know.
Those guys are the same guys that when our troops were injured and shot over in Afghanistan, they didn't say, Americans first, Canadians second. Whoever was injured, didn't matter if you're Canadian or American or British.
Yeah.
They put you on the chopper.
Yeah.
They didn't care what country you were from. And we treat them like that.
I know.
It's disgusting.
I know. I saw that even during the last during a FIFA game, they booed the American anthem in Toronto.
Idiots.
How stupid do you have to be? These are people. This is the elbows up crowd for sure.
Well, Trudeau inflamed that. If you remember, he said, "Oh, it's understandable that Canadians boo the Americans," and he encouraged it. And there he is down there with his girlfriend, Katy Perry, clapping for the U.S. team.
Yeah,
well, that's fine and dandy, but look at what your history is, what you've done, and you're such a hypocrite that.
I hope that there is some justice for what Trudeau has done. I believe it needs to be. How could we? How is there a possibility of justice? No judge in Canada would hear his case, or there's no police officer that would charge him. I don't think.
Never be accountable. Never.
Do you think that general that wouldn't come to the Freedom Convoy, do you think he would arrest him?
You know what I've heard? Yeah, maybe. I've heard that people talk. The only way to solve our problem in this country is to have a military takeover, basically a coup, and kick all the liberal judges out, get rid of all the DEI stuff, and then have a democratic election and start fresh. I'm not advocating for that, but I'm just saying I've heard that talk. And
yeah, people are getting frustrated.
They don't see hope
by the direction that we're going in. Absolutely.
I mean, it's not so much our generation. I'm a little older than you, but our generation will barely skate through, hopefully. But your kids and all the other kids and grandkids coming up, what do they have to look forward to? Not a lot. No,
it's not going to be the same upbringing that I had. I still have hope. I still have hope that our country can get through this, but not if we keep electing the same uniparty over and over again. I think it is political because it's also cultural. Yeah, it's the culture always comes first, and the politics follows the culture. But you see in the States that the politics can affect the culture too. It's more the other way around, but it can happen that the politics can affect the culture. And I think what the PPC is, as an example, is doing, we are affecting the culture rather than just going along, letting the culture lead politics by the nose. Because where's it gotten us? Made, up for mentally ill. If you're sick, sad, or old, they're giving you MAID. Abortion up to the moment of birth. Such perversity in our schools that's being taught, especially in the month of June.
They want to cancel kids under 16 having the internet, but you can get MAID at any age.
Yep.
You can have a sex change.
Then you can start taking puberty blockers and have mastectomies at 16.
So think about
crazy.
It. To have that at 16, all that is so that you and I have to identify ourselves so they can track everything that we do. And they use the guise to keep children safe. And it's not about that at all. It's about to track every one of us with our online communications between each other.
That's right. And if they're telling you that it's to keep children safe, consider that Bill C-4 also was meant to keep children safe. But part of that was that legalized the gender transitioning of children. And so in their minds, that's keeping children safe, when it says it's a myth that if you're born a boy, you're a boy, or if you're born a girl, you're a girl. So their definition of keeping children safe is not my definition.
No, and that's the catch-all to slide any legislation through. Who doesn't want to keep children safe?
Exactly.
You do.
Or for the common good. You hear that too, the common good.
But it's all about control of the population, us, because they do not want us to be able to communicate, because they are sad little people that are afraid of the population.
Yeah,
they really are. And they make it so that you should be afraid of them. I'm not afraid of them. I'm not. And I think many Canadians like yourself and thousands of others are not afraid of these people.
No, like I told you before, like I have hope in not in my government, not in the authority of these people who are basically stealing from Canadian citizens. I don't believe that they have ultimate authority, right?
No.
So, any final thoughts on where our country's going to be in 10, 20 years? What do you think?
I think people have to get involved. It's time to wake up. There's no time to sit on your hands anymore. You need to get involved with your circle of influence and do something to make change. And if you can influence one person, that makes a big difference, because that person can also influence someone else. And it's a long road. We're in for the long march, but we have to do it, because everything that we know, our way of life, our freedom, is at stake. Everything. And if you think it's not, then you're part of the problem.
Yeah. Listen, I hope that people do get involved, and I think it's happening slowly. There's a lot of change happening now. There's a lot of propaganda that's being ramped up. But Eddie, I'm with you. I think we have to get involved. I'm going to continue to be involved. I'm going to run again politically, but I'm going to also try to keep speaking the truth, and hopefully it'll make the difference. But anyway, thank you so much, Eddie.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks for coming.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.